Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast, IT Coach for Small Business Leaders. I'm your host, Josh Davis. I'm the VP of Marketing at InfoSystems, and with me, as always, is Aaron Swan, Virtual CIO and the IT Coach for Small Business Leaders. Hello, Aaron.
Good morning, Josh. How are you?
I got to vary up these intros just to keep it interesting, you know.
I'm always in suspense waiting what it's going to be.
Yeah, and one of these times I am literally going to bring some intro music, maybe on my phone or something, and play it during that, because I think that would be cool. So anyway, what are we talking about today in the world of IT?
Well, last time we wrapped up our series on managed services, so we're going to kick off a new series today, and I'm not quite sure how to describe it, so we're going to kind of jump in. But today we're going to talk about one of the things that we frequently encounter. I've mentioned on previous podcasts the idea that I get an opportunity in my role to literally go meet with hundreds of different customers, often in a pre-sales engagement, to find out about their company. And something that happens time and time again is we'll run into what I will call the de facto IT person. Mm-hmm. You know where I'm going with this. Mm-hmm. Most of the time it's an office manager, someone who's in charge of that, or it's someone who's had the misfortune of showing that they knew how to change a toner cartridge or do something like that. So they got the label slapped on them of you're in charge of IT now.
Yeah, so if out there at your place of business, if you're not an actual IT person, never fix anybody's technology problem, because then you will be the IT person.
Right. And I literally had this conversation dozens of times with them telling me, it's like, this is not what I went to school for. This is not what I signed up for. I want this off of my plate.
Yeah.
And
you could always use the other strategy, which is when someone has a technology problem, you could say you can fix it, but then mess it up worse. And you'll never get asked to touch it again.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe we could recommend that. Maybe you just did.
Yep.
So we're going to just cover a few, and by no means is this going to be an exhaustive list, because every business is different. We're going to name just a few of the items that we see on a recurring basis that when an IT has been done by the de facto IT manager, whoever that is, just some things that we encounter. Because, as they have communicated, they didn't go to school for this. They're just trying to make do with what resources have been given them by the CEO or whomever's has put them in that role.
Yeah, and let's be honest. I mean, in small business, people have multiple jobs. They get asked to do all kinds of different things. No fault of their own if they're not skilled at doing those things. They just do the best they can. We all do.
Right.
And so this episode is not intended to make fun of anybody in the way that they've done IT in their company, but to point out very real things that you see over and over again when you encounter this type of scenario.
Yeah. So first one we'll jump into is wireless. Okay, so the idea that most businesses find at some point that they don't want to be tied down with their PCs. They want to be able to grab their laptop and walk off to the conference room or someone else's room. So it's like, hey, we need wireless around here. So what inevitably happens, the de facto IT manager will walk down to their nearest store, Best Buy, Walmart, whomever, buy something off the shelf that's designed to do wireless. And if the office is small enough, that might be okay, depending on how they set it up, because, you can get good encryption even on a home router, It's doing your routing too. You probably don't have a firewall in there, so that's a whole nother story that we'll talk about. We've done whole episodes on firewalls, just a few episodes again, so I encourage you to go listen to that if you haven't. But
which, by the way, Aaron has gone on public record saying that a firewall is a must-have component in your network.
Yeah, you have to do it in small business. You're inviting trouble if you don't, and you may be in violation of compliance with PCI or various other governing bodies out there. So yeah, you definitely got to have a firewall. But getting back to wireless, just the idea if you may put a wireless AP out there, it may meet your needs. But if your office is a little bit bigger, decide, wow, square footage, this one AP isn't cutting it. I'm going to go down the store and get a second one and put it up. What inevitably happens then, you've got these two disparate APs sitting out there. They don't communicate with each other. They don't even know about each other. And they tend to fight with each other for the bandwidth, and it just causes problems. And employees cannot roam seamlessly between them. So, as an office manager, you may not know that there is commercially designed wireless that's designed to be able to where all those APs can cooperate with each other. They can do seamless handoffs. They can all be on the same SSID, so you don't have to have the north end and the south end. So that's one common problem that we run into.
And we'll be back with the IT Coach for Small Business Leaders podcast after we pause for this special message. I'm Josh Davis, VP of Marketing at InfoSystems. You may have seen me co-hosting episodes of our podcast, IT Coach for Small Business Leaders. Did you know that you can book a personal IT strategy session with Aaron Swan, host of this podcast? We created this podcast to be a valuable resource for small business leaders in our community, but we wanted to take it one step further. You can book a free meeting with Aaron Swan to review your IT strategy and help you build a plan that will lead to IT success. Just visit our website at www.infosystems.biz, follow the link to book your IT strategy session, and you'll be able to work directly with Aaron to build your IT strategy. Now back to the podcast. And if that is a problem in an office, it's probably something that is experienced quite frequently.
Oh, sure.
I mean, if you have to log swap in and out of multiple access points, or constantly have trouble not having coverage at certain places in your office or your building or things like that. I mean, that's pain that you're going to feel on a regular basis, most likely.
Right. So another area we'll talk about is just saving of files. Okay, this is just something really basic. Being able to save and share files out with other people, so they can collaborate on them. The nice thing is it's both a blessing and a curse, right? So we have cloud services now. OneDrive comes to mind. If you're using Office 365, if you're using just Microsoft Windows networking, the fact that you can very simply set up shares to be able to have files shared on, you could have it on Josh's PC and Aaron's PC, or Aaron's OneDrive, or Sally's OneDrive, or something like that. The problem comes in, though, those things very quickly get unscalable. Mm-hmm. The fact that, one thing, if we're just storing them on those individual PCs, well, what's backing that up? Well, often nothing.
Yeah.
And so, your hard drive fails in your PC, all the Josh stuff could go away. Mine might be okay, but yours is gone. Or in the OneDrive, and I think you've told us some stories about this as well. We see people that are using OneDrive. Well, OneDrive is great for some applications. It's great for you as an individual to be able to synchronize your files between multiple PCs. If you have a home PC and a work PC. It has some sharing capabilities, but again, it doesn't scale well. It doesn't allow you to create, real fine-tuned permissions to allow to, need to know on who needs to be able to get the files without it getting real clunky in a hurry.
Would it be an accurate description for me to say stuff like OneDrive, Google Drive, Dropbox, those types of solutions are really more about giving an individual person the ability to access those files from anywhere, from multiple devices, and it's not really intended to be a company's storage system?
That's a fair statement. In and of itself, right?
Yeah.
So OneDrive can be coupled with SharePoint and with other solutions to make it a company file system, but out of the box, that's exactly right. It's more about you doing it individually. The other thing, and I have to stick this in here, is just the idea about if you're using OneDrive as your backup strategy, it sounds like a good plan. The fact that, okay, I've got this file on this PC, I've got it on this PC, it's synced up in Microsoft's cloud, I'm safe, right? Well, somewhat, okay, so you've got some protection that if your PC hard drive fails or, something like that, your building burns down, your data is probably okay, it's still up in Microsoft's cloud. What it doesn't protect you from necessarily, though, is yourself.
Yeah.
So if you go in and start deleting things and then change your mind, well, those deletions synchronize too. So if you're using OneDrive as a strategy, it needs to be coupled with backup.
Those things happen. I mean, there have been times where the OneDrive or whatever cloud storage folder on my PC sort of got out of sync with what was on the web version of it. And so then you don't know, okay, which one has the actual data stored in it. And if I make changes to one and sync it to the other, am I going to lose something? Or I mean, that scenario has happened to me multiple times.
Sure.
And had I known that, well, the company is backing that data up elsewhere anyway, so if something does go wrong, I can just reach out to the IT guy and he can refresh it all and go back to the point in time before I made those changes.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Another one we'll talk about is the idea of malware protection or antivirus. Most people in this day and age, it's 2020 now, realize that they do have to have antivirus on their PC. But again, in that office environment where the office has just been, IT's been set up by the office manager, a lot of times we'll walk in and just find this, this person may have Semantic running on, this person may have Trend, somewhere over here is Bitdefender, and there's no connection between them. They have individual subscription. There's no central management of that.
Yeah.
So again, much like the wireless, there are commercial solutions out there that allow you to manage those all from a single pane of glass so that you can tell at a glance, who's having problems. Am I at risk of an outbreak? So it's another thing to be aware of. Spam. Hey, how many times we walk in is like, man, I just get inundated. I get 100 emails a day and 90 of them are spam. There are good commercial solutions for that now that can deal with that. And I know you were relating a story the other day about the idea of calendar access.
Mm-hmm.
Comment on that.
Yeah, so, I think it's a issue that we all deal with when you want to meet with somebody and you end up shooting an email to them saying, hey, let's get together, what time works for you? And they shoot back, oh, well, Friday at 3 o'clock works for me. And then you have to answer back, well, Friday at 3 doesn't work for me. I can meet at 12. And they say, well, I can't meet at 12. Yeah. And before you know it, you've sent, 20 emails back and forth trying to just book a meeting.
Right.
Well, there's actual solutions for that are built into a lot of these email and calendaring platforms where the solution I found is called Microsoft Bookings. That's part of Office 365, and you can just send somebody a link and say, hey, I'd like to meet with you, and they just click on the link and pick a time on your calendar, and it's done.
Yeah, I love that solution. I use it frequently with vendors that I have to set up a meeting with. I'm constantly involved in training, and it's so nice to not have to do that email chain. They just send you the link, and I go through and see what they have available, look at my own calendar, and it's done right in one step. So those kinds of things are relatively easy to set up. And as we discussed, like a lot of things with Office 365, you may be paying for it already and not realize it, that you just need to set it up.
Or it could just be a slight upgrade from the plan you're on. I mean,
sure.
in the case for me, I was on a plan that cost maybe $7 a month, and you upgrade to the one that costs $10 a month, and you get several other things that you didn't even know existed, but are extremely helpful.
Yeah.
So
that's, as I said, that's a few things we want to just kind of put out there. By no means is this an exhaustive list. We really want to just kind of whet your appetite for these type of situations, and we'd like to hear from our audience. And I think maybe you can give us some details on how they might be able to do that.
Yeah. So, thinking along the lines of all of these general technology problems that you probably run into on a regular basis, how your Wi-Fi is set up at your office, your file share that you have, or the way you store your files. The things we were talking through today are, typical general issues and stuff that people deal with. There may be things that are specific to your job, maybe your role at your company.
Yeah.
An accountant is going to be using technology in a different way than an HR person and a marketing person and a business operations type person. I mean, we all use technology differently for the role we perform for our companies. So what I'd like to propose is we want to hear from you all, the audience. what are the issues you deal with in your role at your company? What types of software do you use? What hardware do you use? How do you sign in and access software and hardware? And do you work remotely? Do you always work at the office? Are there problems with the way your technology currently functions? If you don't have an IT person, this really what we're doing here is giving you a way to send questions or requests for topics directly to Aaron, and we can talk about these things on future episodes of IT Coach for Small Business Leaders. So if you have suggestions for things you would like to hear Aaron talk about, we'd be glad to incorporate that into future episodes.
Absolutely.
And talk about those things in detail and give you the answers you're looking for. And so we'll be posting multiple ways that you can give us feedback, either on our social media channels. We post these to Facebook, to LinkedIn, and we post them on our website. We've got an email and a text phone number that you can submit questions to, and all that will be posted online, either on our website or our social media channels. So go find us on LinkedIn, find us on Facebook, or just go to our website and click on the podcasts menu item to get to the podcast. Go to IT Coach for Small Business Leaders, and when we post this episode, you'll see the links on there to send us a text or send us an email, and we'd love to get your feedback so we can answer your questions on future episodes.
Yeah, and just to comment, I'll just say, there's an amazing variety of software out there. So we want to hear about what your business challenges are. It's incredible how much is out there. We've talked about the fact, you always introduce me as our virtual CIO at InfoSystems. Would you believe, Josh, that there is virtual CIO software out there designed to help me do my job better? And we've recently started using some of that, and wow, it's made a huge difference for me. So, it's about finding those connections.
Yeah, I mean, how many times do you not even know something exists?
Right.
And then you discover and you're like, oh, if I had only known about this for the last few years,
Right.
my life would have been so much easier. So, yeah, that's what we aim to do with IT Coach for Small Business Leaders, is help educate you on how to make technology more part of the way you do business effectively. So
That's what I've got for today.
all right, well, we'll sign off there. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to this episode. We'll see you next time.